Cost to serve, that's what it's all about. Hi, and welcome back to Supply Chain Secrets. Now, if you know me at all, or if you know this channel at all, you'll know that I'm forever talking about cost to serve and its importance in the supply chain to really understand the cost at a detailed level of servicing different types of customers and products. And that was actually the topic in our webinar that we ran today. And I thought I'd just show you one of the diagrams that people thought was really, really helpful. So that's coming right up. Okay, so this was about a 1 hour webinar, and in fact, I'll give you a link because you can actually go and watch the recorded webinar on our website, on the Logistics Bureau website. But I just want to show you a critical diagram that was towards the end of the webinar, and I'm just going to do that on the iPad here. So I'll talk to you, I'll draw it on the iPad, and we'll kind of put it all together. Okay, so this is the diagram that I was talking about, and I went through some case studies and stuff like that, but ultimately it comes down to really understanding 3 different components of your supply chain. And we had discussions about linear supply chains and circular supply chains, so this is just cutting it down to the real basics. So this is this slide is about what to focus on first to actually improve your cost to serve, your understanding of the cost to serve, which is the importance. And then basically, once you understand that, you can understand where you're getting profit leakage in your supply chain. So let me just zoom in on this diagram a little bit because I'm going to have to draw on it. So let me give myself a little bit more space. Okay, so on the diagram here, you can see that I'm focusing on 3 core areas. We're looking at the customers, obviously one very important component there. And let's make sure I just get my drawing pencil working. So we're looking at the customers, we're looking at the products, and we're looking at the costs. So in looking at the customers and the products, what we're trying to do here is to understand the different dynamics of different types of customers and products that drive different costs into your supply chain. So in terms of customers, think about some of the things that will drive costs at a higher or lower level into your supply chain. So I'm just going to pick 3. So first of all, I would say have a look at service levels. So what service levels are you offering your customers? What do they really want? Obviously, fast service levels very often cost more. Slower service levels generally will cost less. So it's about order frequency and that type of thing. The next thing is I'm just going to put buy, but they're buying patterns. So what I mean by that is the frequency of order and the size of order. And this is one of the big things in supply chain cost reduction, understanding the dynamics of your customer orders and how that drives excess cost. So as an example, during the current pandemic, I'm shooting this in early June 2020, one of our FMCG customers at Logistics Bureau, their volume went through the roof because people were stockpiling, but their transport costs also went through the roof because it was very hard to find trucks and so on. So you need to understand that at a really detailed level, types of customers, types of products, and what's driving the different costs. So we've got service, and we've got the buying patterns. Another really big thing in terms of customers is their location. So whatever part of the world you're in, you're going to be servicing customers who are maybe in metro areas and rural areas and remote areas. They have different costs associated with them. Obviously, the further away they are, and particularly if they're buying in smaller quantities, the cost as a percentage of sales to service them is going to be a lot higher. So those are 3 things to focus on with your customers. Let's have a look at some of the product characteristics then. And one of the big ones here is pack sizes. What do I mean by that? So, for example, here's my little iPad pencil. What if people are generally buying these individually? Say a retailer's buying these in ones, and we're sending them out individually. I mean, it's just an example. There's going to be a cost associated with delivering each of these, and it might be $20. What if these come in packs of 10? Could we get the retailer to buy them in packs of 10? And it's still going to cost us about $20 to deliver them, but our delivery cost now is a much smaller proportion of the value of the product. So pack size is really important, understanding the dynamics of that, eaches, carton quantities, pallet quantities, and so on. The other thing that we're going to look at in terms of the products is their handling needs. So again, depending on what sort of products you have, they might have different handling requirements. They might be fragile. So fragile freight, for example, has to be top-loaded in the truck. Maybe there are temperature constraints. It has to be frozen or chilled, or maybe it's got to be specially packaged. So all of that is going to drive extra cost into servicing those customers who want those products. And then finally, we're going to have a look at inventory. And the inventory policy has a big impact on our cost to serve, because maybe these we can get very quickly from Apple and we hold 1 week of stock. So the investment in the inventory, the investment in the storage space is a lot lower. Maybe these we buy 6 months worth at a time. So we've got a much bigger investment in inventory, we've got much more use of storage space, and so these attract a bigger warehousing cost than these. So we need to understand our inventory policy. Now let's have a look at this final circle and costs. So the big cost items to look at there are the pick and pack cost, because, again, depending on sort of order sizes and things like that, it's a highly variable and quite high labour cost. We've got the delivery itself. So, what kind of transport utilisation are we getting? What type of delivery are we doing? And then we've got the storage, which I just mentioned. That's going to vary, depending on the type of product and the temperature and so on. So there are 3 areas to focus on: the customers, the products, and the costs, and understanding how all of these fit together. I often describe it as a bit like a Rubik cube. You just imagine all the different types of customers you've got in the different locations and the products you've got. You can twist that cube into so many different ways, and you'll get a different cost for delivering, a different type of order. There's so many different combinations. And the reason why it's really important to focus on these 3 is because, excuse me, if we get our customer service right, and we're getting our inventory and pack sizes right and so on with our products, we're actually going to improve, I'm sorry, I'm running out of space to write on this, we're actually going to improve our service levels to our customers. And if we really understand our customers better and what drives them and our cost better, we're actually going to drive up sales. I kid you not. I explained this in the webinar with a couple of case studies. You get this stuff right. Actually, a couple of guys on the webinar today were saying, but when it impacts sales, this kind of thing, you're going to reduce the sales. Nah, sales go up, and you'll understand why if you watch the webinar. And then this combination of understanding our costs and the products help us get the right processes. And I'm really running out of space to write this, but hopefully you get the idea. Now, what does all that mean right in the middle? This is the target. This is the sweet spot, because if we understand this and we understand our true cost to serve, and we can use that to influence customer behaviours and service policies, what happens? We improve profit margins. And that's the whole purpose of this. It's to stop profit leakage through your supply chain. So that's just one slide that I wanted to share with you out of the webinar. But I think it's a really important one. It kind of encapsulates the whole concept of cost to serve. And I'll just tap to the next slide, because that one, it's a little bit easier to see. And let me just rub out some of the writing on that one. So if you want to have a look at a clearer one, there it is. And those are the 3 things to focus on, and within each 3 focus areas, there are 3 sort of characteristics to look at. So, hope that was helpful. Now that link for the webinar, if you want to go and watch that, we'll put a link up there. We'll put a link below in the description as well. But hopefully you're starting to get the hang of it now. If you didn't really understand cost to serve, how important it is to really good supply chain management. And if you have a look on the channel, there's loads and loads of videos here about cost to serve. In fact, we'll put a link up here to one where I actually go through a whole class. Takes about 20 minutes showing you how to do cost to serve in a warehouse. But check out the webinar. That's got a lot of good stuff in there for you. So thank you for watching, and you know how it works. If you enjoy the channel, if you've got any questions, put the questions down below. I love to get questions because that helps me understand what kind of topics people want and what I can improve on for my next videos. If you enjoy these videos, think about hitting subscribe, and then there's that little bell next to the subscribe button. If you hit that, you'll actually get an automatic notification when we post new videos. But generally that's every week on a Wednesday. And in fact, insider tip, we generally publish them on a Tuesday night Sydney time. So thanks for watching. I hope you have got a little bit better understanding of cost to serve on that. Don't forget to have a look at the webinar because that's got a lot more detail and background and so on. See you next week.